Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, absurdism in the extreme. It's all available here in the Tales from the Omni Vault book series. Check the description for Amazon links so you can get your copies and start reading today. Thank you all, and now, on to the video. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and we have the first official trailer for the upcoming Wolfman remake. The last one was a teaser, but we now have the official trailer. And, as you can imagine, I have some thoughts on it. First of all, I am going to say, yes, it looks like it's very intense. It looks like, in terms of being a horror movie, it is very well made. And yet, I still remain unconvinced it's going to be a good Wolfman adaptation. First of all, we can confirm that the makeup that we saw teased in that one Universal Horror Nights thing in association with the movie, that is how the Wolfman is going to look in this film. We have the evidence right here from the attempted jump scare I'll be getting to a bit later. Pause it at just the right moment, you will see that is the exact same look. It's obviously not the exact same makeup. The quality is a little bit better. But then again, it wasn't the quality of the makeup that people were concerned about, was it? I know some people were trying to spin it like that was what we were upset about, because they were saying, you know, Halloween Horror Nights, their makeup is never as good as what you see in the movies. Well, yeah. But the problem is the design. The design still doesn't look like a Wolfman. I mean, it's not like the Wolfman has a non-indicative name, right? It's right there. He is a man with the features of a wolf. But this thing? No, this thing looks like it should be waiting for 3 goats to cross a bridge. It does not look even close to any depiction of a werewolf that I have ever seen before. Show somebody that picture out of context, they're not going to guess it's a Wolfman. The only people who would say that it looks like the Wolfman are the people who do have that context and are just ultimately making a circular argument. Well, it's called the Wolfman, so this design must look like the Wolfman, and we know it looks like the Wolfman because it's called the Wolfman. You see the problem? I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Plus, the trailer also seems to reveal that this is going to be a little bit different, well, actually quite a bit different from how a werewolf curse usually goes. They're using words like, he's been infected. They're showing the transformation being very slow, and emphasizing the body horror, and implying that maybe it doesn't have anything to do with a full moon, and maybe he won't even be changing back. And the more I describe it, the more this sounds like a zombie, like a George Romero-esque zombie, or the David Cronenberg version of The Fly. One of those two, maybe both of them mashed together, but not the Wolfman. Yeah. I remain unimpressed with the design. And even the trailer, while I do think it still looks intense, it doesn't have me overly confident about how it's going to go. And I think what really knocked down my expectations for the quality is that one scene where the mother and daughter are in that rundown old truck. They're trying to get it started. The mother gets out, leaving the door open, opens the hood of the truck, messes around with the engine, closes it, goes back into the car, tries it again, takes a little bit of time, but finally gets it started, then does the windshield wipers to clear the windshield, and hey, jump scare, he was there the whole time. You're telling me that this monster that's been actively hunting them, presumably for a while at this point, must have known where they were, but he, instead of attacking when the mother's guard was down because she was focused on something else, and the girl was vulnerable because the door was left wide open, instead of attacking right then, He instead just bided his time, waiting for them to get the truck back in working order and get the doors closed again, and then just sauntered up, stood in front of it, and waited specifically for the moment where the windshield wipers wiped the schmutz away from their view in order to do the most predictable jump scare imaginable. See, I shouldn't be thinking about the scene that way, but I am. Maybe it's just a bad edit for the trailer itself. I'm sure the actual scene in the movie is going to play out a lot longer, and maybe there are some elements missing, but the way it's put together right now kind of makes it look like that's how it's going to play out. Now that's going to be stuck in my head the whole time. So, and again, the jump scare is predictable. The whole point of a jump scare is that you're not supposed to see it coming. It's supposed to be startling. That's the whole point. And no, I'm not going to jump scare you. Like, for real, don't tense up. I am not the sort of person who would do that sort of thing to you guys. But that's the whole point, right? A jump scare is supposed to make you jump because you weren't expecting it. This, you could see coming a mile away. So, I don't know. I just am not thinking this is going to be a very good adaptation of the Wolfman. And yes, I'm calling it an adaptation of the Wolfman. It is an adaptation. It is a remake. It is all of those things. I know there are some people who are going to argue that I shouldn't be judging it like that because it's trying to do its own thing. Well, if it was trying to do its own thing, it wouldn't be called Wolfman, and it wouldn't be distributed by Universal. So it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is part of that Wolfman legacy. Heck, it's part of the greater werewolf legacy that includes folklore and mythology and even legal history. Look up werewolf trials sometime. See how many of those there were. That is a lot of stuff that it's carrying forward, and it doesn't seem like it's at all connected other than the title. It's feeling like the Godzilla Polygon trilogy all over again, where they just took the name and applied it to something that it doesn't belong to. That's how it's looking at this point. So, yeah, you can imagine I'm not exactly looking forward to this one. On the other hand, though, this trailer comes hot on the heels of a different lycanthropical movie trailer that just happened to drop the other day for a movie called Werewolves. And despite the generic title, this one actually looks really interesting. The premise being put forward is that it's an action horror movie of sorts, kind of, similar to Predator or James Cameron's Aliens or something like that, where it's set a year after a supermoon caused this global werewolf epidemic, or at least a very widespread werewolf epidemic. And it was a huge event, but in the years since then, they've been preparing for the next one. And everybody seems to think they have a system in place, but of course, if it's a horror movie worth its own weight in salt, then something's gonna go wrong and things are gonna get intense. Now, that's interesting to me. First of all, of course, the werewolves that we see not only are also practical effects, but they actually look like werewolves. You put that next to whatever Blumhouse is peddling and ask me which one is a werewolf, the choice is obvious. But even beyond that, the premise itself sounds interesting, because I don't think I've really seen something like this applied to a werewolf concept before. I can certainly recognize the influences based on what I see in the trailer. If I had to guess, the elevator pitch was probably something like it's Underworld meets The Purge. I can see a few elements of both in there. But as long as those borrowed elements can be mixed together into something that still feels fresh and new, I'm down to see how it goes. You never know. Like I said, trailers, they can always sell a movie a particular way, and maybe it's not always accurate. Maybe Blumhouse's Wolfman is going to be a masterpiece that's just not grabbing me because of the advertising, and maybe Werewolves is grabbing me now, but it's going to wind up being a disposable schlock later. At this point, I really don't know. I just know that Werewolves actually does look interesting, and I'm, at the moment, looking forward to seeing more. Because, like I said, this is a premise I haven't really seen apply to werewolves yet. And, you know, I do wonder if it's going to have a certain allegory regarding recent events, you know, with the lockdowns and the virus and everything. I don't know if that's going to be the case, or if any parallels you might draw between the movie and real-world events will just be coincidental. Who knows? I can tell you, though, like I said, that Werewolves actually does look good. Blumhouse's Wolfman, again, looks like it is well made, doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be good. That's really all I can say about either of them at the moment, though. So, I don't know, I guess we'll see soon enough. You know, Werewolves comes out in December, then Wolfman comes out in January, so it'll be a rapid succession. And of course, alongside Werewolves is going to be the Nosferatu remake, so winter's going to be a very interesting time for horror. And, well, I know which one I'm looking forward to more. But, you know, you guys are free to leave your thoughts as well. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.